It's the DU General, Money P. I'ma put you up on the schedule. 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not to unsettle you. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Time Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it, maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in, the first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis. First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580, good morning. Happy Monday, God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. The show is called First Things First, and my first thing every day, giving thanks to God, giving praises to God, asking for the blessings of God Almighty, the ancestors and the elders. And let's go. We got some radio to do. We got some talking to do, some podcasting to podcast. And this is how we do it on a Monday. Monday, we go hour one, we look local, what's going on the left coast side of town. Hour two, we started off with our Mindful Monday affirmation and guided meditation, and then we launch into national, international, and beyond. In the third hour, we do a deep dive with a hot topic or a person of interest, and we are on point with all of that today. We're going to be joined by a representative from Black Lives Matter Flint in hour two. Looking forward to that conversation. As BLM, the real BLM, which is Black Lives Matter Grassroots, celebrated their 12th anniversary on yesterday. I will be talking with Dr. Guthrie P. Ramsey in our third hour, looking at some of these towering legends that have been leaving the building in the music world and getting into a little conversation around that. The way that music is moving right now in the space of American culture. And right now, I'm happy to bring on our latest regular contributor. She's on with us monthly, once a month, the first Monday of the month, I believe it is, unless we're in Africa. And then it might be the second Monday of the month. She's been working in public, private, non-sector from education and economic justice to public health and environmental justice, child welfare, juvenile justice, a couple decades of experience in leadership development. She is also a community organizer and an activist. Mikia Castillo, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique.
And how are you this fine Monday?
You know, I had a lovely weekend, and so I'm starting off this Monday morning feeling blessed and re-energized for the work ahead.
Yeah. Well, both of us spent some time yesterday celebrating the 12th anniversary of Black Lives Matter Grassroots, which is one of the organizations that you work with. And the celebration last night at the BLM Center for Black Power was really well attended. It was quite an impressive gathering, I thought. What were your takeaways?
No, I agree. It was definitely an impressive gathering, and it was beautiful to see folks from all over the country, from the various Black Lives Matter grassroots chapters, which at this point there are well over 50, come together in Los Angeles, the birthplace of Black Lives Matter, LA, the real Black Lives Matter grassroots, and especially to be able to connect with the families that this movement was, really started for in honor of. So I definitely enjoyed my time and felt, again, reinvigorated about the work and why we've been doing this work for 12 years and wanting to continue to press forward to get justice, as much justice as we can get, and honor those the loved ones who've been lost, and all of the work ahead for Black babies like mine in this country.
And you got 3 cutie pies, that's for sure.
Thank you. 3 cutie pies full of energy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's how they come out if we're lucky. But yeah, I mean, there were representatives there from many of the chapters across the United States, which was really interesting for me because I hear it and I know it, but when you see and meet the people, it just feels different. And it's such a big variety of folks. I mean, you have grandmamas and then people straight out of college that are running chapters. So for me, it was fun to see the scope of people, and it's so far away from the stereotypes or portrayals of who and what is Black Lives Matter.
Right. I was thinking to myself, the leadership is definitely not a monolith, right? Whatever people I think have in their head, especially thinking about the founders of Black Lives Matter, Patrice and others, the folks who are leading the work and continuing the work and building the chapters around the country and actually around the globe are very diverse in the sense that you mentioned, right? You have grandmothers, you have folks straight out of college, you have family members who started their own chapters to try to honor their loved ones whose lives were taken by state-sanctioned violence. And so it was just really beautiful again to see that the diversity, and then like you said, it's so real and tangible. We're not in the same room. Those of us who are, activists and organizers, but not on the ground in the same way as the leadership of these chapters. So we don't get together very often like this. And it was just really a gift to be able to share space with everybody.
Yeah. And there's so many different styles of folks too, because there's just, everybody's from a different region with varying emphasis of things they want to embrace, but still sort of a centralized organization as like an umbrella with guiding principles of fighting against state-sanctioned violence. But you're right, the families, and it seems like now there's more chapters that are led by families who have had their loved ones killed by police, and they have an urgency to their work, even though it can't bring back their loved one. That is just it's just a wake-up call for everyone else, I think.
Right. I think, a lot of times folks on the ground, including some of my own family members and friends who don't really see what's going on behind the scenes of Black Lives Matter because the media moves on from these stories, and they're not able to see in real time that police continue to take the lives of Black folks in Los Angeles and around the country. I think that when you see these family members, it's really, for me, it pulled on my heart, right? Because they didn't necessarily plan to join this movement. Nobody wants to be forced into this work because you didn't expect that your loved one would be killed by law enforcement, and here you are. And there's no justice. There's no accountability. And I see it firsthand, right, with the families that we work with here on the ground in LA, where, for example, Brandon Boyd, who was killed in Long Beach last year on November 19th, I was just in court with his sisters 2 weeks ago because they're facing criminal charges. We go to court again tomorrow. And people don't know that. They don't know that the sisters who were there and witnessed their brother get murdered are out there fighting for themselves to stay free, even as they try to mourn their brother. And these are some of the stories that we hear from families across the country, right? The ways in which that what they've experienced is being dismissed on top of having their loved one killed by law enforcement. And it's a lot of gaslighting that they experience, and they need support. They need a community. And that's one of the things that Black Lives Matter is able to provide, is that ongoing, sustained support for these families that they wouldn't be able to get anywhere else, because the system that killed their loved one is definitely not trying to provide that for them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. What is happening with Boyd's sisters? They're not backing off on these charges at all.
Oh my God, no. It was excuse me. It really was difficult to be in the courtroom a couple weeks ago and witness what was taking place. The sisters who committed no crime whatsoever except being Black and responding to a call from their friends and neighbors in Long Beach who said, hey, your brother's out here on the church steps, and police are starting to surround him with cops like he needs help. That's all they did. They showed up to be there for their brother, and the police are criminalizing them and trying to prosecute them to the highest extent possible. And so the judge in this matter actually watched some of the video footage, and that was the most painful thing, was for the first time for the family and for those of us in the courtroom to see video footage from the police, video cameras that were there on the scene, and to see what they did and how they literally basically assaulted the sisters, and then flipped it on them and said, literally, there was a statement that was read by the prosecutor from a sergeant who said, we cannot let these sisters off the hook, because if we do, other people will think that it's okay to get in the way of a police investigation. Wow. And so they did not want to, of course, the sisters are asking for all charges to be dropped. There should be no charges. We've been demanding that since Brandon's murder, but that's not at all what the prosecutor's office, what the DA's office was asking for. They actually went up against every single thing that the family was saying, which is, we really shouldn't. Our brother was murdered. We didn't do anything. We were just there. We complied with the officers in the moment, and our emotions got the best of us because we watched our brother get murdered in front of us. They didn't care. They said, well, if we let you off the hook, then other people will do the same thing, and people will think it's okay to just defy police orders.
Wow. Not, let us notify you that we've murdered your loved one, or here's some family counseling support or support for the burial, or nothing like that. Just charges. It flies in the face of the story that we're always being told about improving police and community relations. We're going to kill your loved one and now charge you with not cooperating with his murder. 800-920-1580 if you want to weigh in on this or any other conversations that are taking place. And when we come forward, Mikia, I do want to get your thoughts. The chancellor for Berkeley, UC Berkeley, going to D.C. to face Congress, to get grilled, to get questioned on the charge of anti-Semitism. And I know that, in your work as an educator, these actions and conversations have to be impacting you in your work as well. We'll look at that and more when we continue on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than Saquon Barkley, the NFL's reigning leading rusher. I'm also the NFL's leading husher. Shh, hush up back there. Wow, I might have just set the hushing record. Well, almost. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
Are you wet shaving? You'll get razor bumps.
Nah, Pops, I'm good with Gillette Skin Guard. How long you been growing that beard Mama hates anyway?
Since 77. I shaved and got ingrown so bad.
That's why I use the Gillette Skin Guard razor, face scrub, shave gel, and moisturizer. So I don't have to worry about new razor bumps or shaving irritation.
Gillette Skin Guard, huh? Your mama's gonna love this one.
The best a man can get keeps getting better with Gillette Skin Guard. Buy now at a retailer near you.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley show conversation with James Farr. At one point, James said something that caught me off guard. Not because it wasn't true, but because it is. Black Altadena is gone. I know it may seem stupid and non-productive, but I stopped in that moment listening to Tavis and James. I broke down and cried. In the back of my mind, I told myself we can bring it back like it was. But James Farr's reality check hit me like a ton of bricks. My community is being murdered. I said murdered, not by the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire, but by the people we elect to protect us, and by greedy and gatekeeping nonprofits who cannot see the forest for the trees. For the first time since the fire, I truly feel and understand my wife's inconsolable pain. Because I'm struggling to find a path to recovery and at least some form of normalcy. My community is crumbling right in front of my face. Lack of funding to rebuild is slowly destroying us. Many of us can no longer hold out, and developers are gobbling up our property. When I hear voices like Tavis Smiley and James Farr speak truth to power on KBLA Talk 1580, it reminds me that we're not crazy, just unheard. Make no mistake here, KBLA delegation, this is war. And we the people of Black Altadena are losing. It's like waiting for reparation. Not gonna happen, brother. In this new orange man world, no one, no entity is persuaded by right or wrong. There is no consequence for doing the wrong thing and no accolades or support for doing the right thing. Will war-torn Black Altadena survive? Your guess is as good as mine. But what have I got to lose? I'm in my 70s and don't have time to wait. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once suggested that riots break out when people have no hope. But there's nothing left to burn down in Altadena. I wish I could say I remain hopeful that my beloved community will rise again like a phoenix from the ashes. I wish I could. With a KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Pasadena Community Coalition at gmail.com. Reach out to me. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now, Mikia Castillo is with me, and you are invited in 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. That's the number if you've got something to say. We're celebrating Black Lives Matter grassroots 12th year anniversary of Black Lives Matter, and we're at a community organizing meeting / celebration with ice cream yesterday. There were a lot of folks there, and I feel like there's an element of that experience that's also providing hope in a time when there's much talk of people acquiescing and backing down prematurely, surrendering when there's not even been a challenge. To see all of these young people and old people from different states, including Sweden. There's a chapter in Sweden now, in Stockholm. It's a reminder that people are doing the work every day, even though they might not be featured in the mainstream media.
Right. No, absolutely. The work is happening on the ground day in and day out. It has to continue, and the mainstream media has moved on a long time ago, right? There's hardly any talk of Black Lives Matter, if at all, in mainstream media. But that doesn't mean that BLM is not putting in the work and that these chapters are not continuing to work to protect families, advocate for policy changes, and make sure that Black lives are protected against state-sanctioned violence.
Yeah, and that in itself, to me, is just another piece of hope, another piece of staying encouraged, because these folks are starting chapters. There's more BLM grassroots chapters now than there's ever been. And that means even though the media is not focused on the work is continuing. And I know that's just one example, because there has to be tons of community-based organizations that are working on education, community violence, all kinds of children's advocacy and criminal justice work that are not getting the shine, because it seems like right now it's all Trump all the time in the media. And even before that, I always felt like mainstream media realized they were helping to spread the word and adding momentum to the protest movement. And I just think that the owners, the billionaire owners of those big media companies, are not going to do that again. They're not going to allow that to happen again, where they become part of the momentum for the movement.
Well, I think you're right. And I think that if some incident like what we see happening with the immigration protests in the streets, there's only so much that they can do to not put information out there to the community when this is what's happening, right? And so I do feel like at some point, especially given with this administration, this current administration, we're not even 6 months into the administration and the way that they're operating. It's only a matter of time before some of these topics come back up in the mainstream media, because they're going to be the topic of the day, if you will, the same way that these ICE raids are the topic of the day right now.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, at a certain point, they can't ignore it. But that's a pretty high bar, because even back when Trayvon Martin was murdered, it wasn't the mainstream media that championed that story. They didn't report it until people were on the streets in cities across the country, and they had no choice. So I think you're right. At that point, then they'll start reporting on it. But to make the assumption that the work is not happening because you don't see it, I think would be a mistake.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the hallmarks of white supremacy, right, is that if they can control the narrative, then they can control what people's perspectives are about what's happening. And so people are going to think you all haven't been doing anything this whole time when there's been work happening on the ground, because if they're following mainstream media, then largely the work is being ignored.
Yeah. Before, I ask you about this campus situation, I wanted to just follow up back to Brandon Boyd, the young man who was killed by police on the steps of his own church last year. How can people support the family in this effort to get, to free the two sisters from, culpability, and also to support the family in whatever justice they're seeking for Brandon Boyd?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. I think right now, one of the things that they can do is to continue to give to the family. I know that's the easiest way to support them. And if you go to, I think it's GoFundMe.com/Brandon Boyd. I have to triple check that. But Brandon, the family is facing a lot of legal charges. A legal case, right? And so there's going to be an ongoing court battle, and they really could use those resources. Brandon is a father of 6, and so they definitely are missing their dad and needing some resources that he would have provided if he were still here. And so I would encourage folks to go to GoFundMe/help Brandon Boyd and provide support to the family in that way at this time.
Yeah, that's a great point. You go directly to the family. It's crazy that they got to face all these legal bills while, trying to, as you said, heal from the murder of their loved one.
And sorry, Dominique, one other thing, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
If folks could follow BLM Grassroots and BLM Long Beach on social media platforms, you'll see information about how to continue to support. The family has been going to the police commission in Long Beach, some of the city council meetings to speak out and advocate for themselves as well as for Brandon's memory. And so when those meetings are happening, the family is there, and it's really helpful when the community shows up in solidarity with the family to say, what happened to Brandon is not right. We haven't forgotten about it, and we're going to continue to be here until this family sees justice on this side of heaven. Yeah, absolutely. And you could tell from the testimonials yesterday and just from my work over the years in interviewing people that even just a handful of community members showing up makes all the difference. They don't feel like they're standing alone against this giant system, which can be pretty terrible. So the chancellor at UC Berkeley, his name is Rick Lyons, he's going to be grilled by Congress tomorrow. It's a committee, a congressional committee that is investigating allegations of anti-Semitism on U.S. University campuses. 10 colleges are actually under investigation. UC Berkeley is one of them. But if you think about, the way these hearings have gone in the past, the Harvard president ended up getting pushed out or forced to resign, fired. The UPenn president, and maybe, some other presidents that stepped down, at Columbia, Northwestern, Rutgers, were influenced by these type of committees. And I find it really ironic that this administration
while they've shut down the Justice Department's civil rights investigatory arm, letting all of those police departments off the hook that were, in the middle of consent decrees or under investigation, and shutting down follow-up on discrimination cases against students, black students, Latino students. They're at the same time ramping up this accusation of anti-Semitism. And for me, one of the things that makes it problematic is that it's not really, a lot of it is not really about anti-Semitism. It's about anti-Israel political positions. Anti-Netanyahu is about Gaza. It's not really what I would think of as anti-Semitism, which is a terrible thing in itself.
Right, absolutely. I was thinking the same thing about the fact that this is not what I see as really anti-Semitism. It's really folks exercising their First Amendment right to say we don't agree with the murder of Palestinian people. We don't agree with genocide. We don't agree with what Netanyahu's policies are. We don't agree with what Israel is doing right now in Iran and in other places. And so that's really what this is. But the fact that it's being conflated, and that you have 10 universities in California that are under investigation for anti-Semitism because students and faculty members and local members of communities joined in to say we don't support a genocide is really concerning. And again, one of the hallmarks of fascism and authoritarianism is to still the narrative, shape it in the way that you want it to be shaped and make it look a certain way. I mean, we know here in Los Angeles on the ground at USC, right, where I teach and I'm an alum, also at UCLA, there were protests on campuses, and we saw folks on the ground with their own eyes and with their cameras recorded the folks who were there to advocate on behalf of Palestinians being attacked.
Yeah.
By community members, right, by Zionists.
Yeah, we're going to leave it there, and we'll continue this convo after news, traffic, and sports. KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump says he's satisfied with the investigation into last year's assassination attempt at his Butler, Pennsylvania rally.
They're very talented, very capable. They had a bad day, and I think they'll admit that. They had a rough day.
Despite Secret Service failures and 6 agent suspensions, Trump told Fox News he still trusts his team. Black 7-year-old Jamal White is safe after being abducted at gunpoint in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He was taken Friday evening by masked men in a white Jeep. Found nearly 24 hours later, police have arrested at least one suspect, but the investigation is still ongoing. And boxing legend Layla Ali is teasing a possible return to the ring for the right price. After praising the Serrano-Taylor trilogy, Ali said she'd consider a comeback for $15 to $20 million. Boxing champ Claressa Shields has long called for the showdown, billing it as a battle for the GOAT title. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers head into the All-Star break after taking 2 of 3 from the Giants in San Francisco. They scored 3 runs after 2 outs in the 11th inning Sunday to beat the Giants 5-2. The Dodgers will have 4 players in the All-Star game Tuesday night in Atlanta. Catcher Will Smith, first baseman Freddie Freeman, designated hitter Shohei Ohtani, and pitcher Clayton Kershaw. The Angels ended the first half of the season with a 5-1 loss at home to Arizona. Even though the Angels are 2 games below 500 at 47-49, they have 6 more wins than what they had last season at the All-Star break. They were 14 games under 500 at the break last year. The Angels are 11-10 with interim manager Ray Montgomery. Montgomery took over for Ron Washington on June 20th when Washington stepped down because of undisclosed health reasons. Washington, one of 2 black managers in Major League Baseball, will not return this season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent. And the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember,
no warrant, no key. My privacy. You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside.
Don't say a thing.
Yeah, we all got right.
Hey, we all got right.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., inviting you to join me weekdays at 12 noon right after Tavis Smiley here on KBLA Talk 1580. As a law school graduate and a theologian with a firm grasp of our body politic given almost 2 decades in Congress, my show is the fresh new home of an authentic, uncompromised quest for transformation and salvation, both personal and collectively, as I vigorously interrogate the theological and symbolic meanings embedded in our society. I promise to leverage my knowledge of history, theology, and both international and domestic issues to imagine an inclusive vision for the future, which I hope will inspire all of us to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as a given, not just an aspiration. So join me weekdays at 12 noon right after Tavis Smiley for 2 hours of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey man, hey, what's up, bro? What's that station you listening to? Oh man, you don't know? That's Talk Radio, KBLA 1580 AM. Check it out. 1580 KBLA AM. 1580 Talk Radio. Progressive.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're celebrating our 4th anniversary, and this track right here is the gift one of our devoted listeners presented to us.
Where you get some information, get a true education, just to know who, yeah. 1580.
How cool is that? Having a member of our KBLA delegation write us a song. Stop it! Our listeners love us, and there ain't nothing we can do about it. Wouldn't want to. Thanks to Cardell and everybody else for turning on KBLA Talk 1580. We love you right black.
KBLA 1580 Talk Radio. Get it like me. Ooh, KBLA 1580 Talk Radio. Progressive.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thank you for waking up with me, KBLA. Lamika Castillo is with us this day. She's now a KBLA contributor. And Miles Lowe is here in the building. Lamika, this grilling of the UC Berkeley chancellor and other college administration, faculty and administration members, I feel like a lot of these places have already acquiesced. They've already preemptively surrendered, cutting staff, cutting programs, agreeing to oversight, which amounts to government control of college curriculum, even on private campuses. What concerns me is what comes next, because I feel like they've already preemptively surrendered, and now if the grilling continues from Congress, what is left as far as student freedoms or faculty freedoms? or even universities protecting the right of students to engage in really robust dialogue or protest?
You know, what I fear is that the reason that this grilling is happening is to set the stage for more over-policing of students on campuses, not just for freedom of speech rights, but for pretty much everything, right? Just the black students, as a black student in college at UC San Diego, I already experienced being over-policed. Whenever I had my boyfriend, now husband, visit me, he would get pulled over coming to campus. I had my sister and her boyfriend come, they would get pulled over coming to campus. And I have major concerns about what this is going to mean in terms of quote unquote tightening up to protect, certain rights on campus, which really is just going to mean the extreme over policing of students on college campuses. And that, of course, is going to mean that black students, students of color, immigrant students are going to be the targets of these types of, we're shutting down your voice. If you have anything, if you speak out against Donald Trump as the president, AKA a dictator, then you're also going to, you could be arrested or whatever the case may be. I think that this is the direction that this is heading in. And it's no coincidence that, of course, the Trump administration is starting, doing this work here in California with 10 universities, with the types of things that we're seeing, the attack on the state of California with, the ICE raids happening here, the threats of taking away our funding, the issues that we see going on with the Department of Education investigating and making claims about, transgender students being involved in sports. There's so many different things that I see happening, a thread of attacks on the state of California, if you will, and I believe that this is just going to increase the policing like we see in other areas of policy happening in the state.
Yeah, I think that's true, and it just... for me, it feels illegal. How can they be emphasizing what they're calling anti-Semitism, which is really anti-Israeli policy? It's not even anti-Israeli people. It's anti-Gaza policy. It's anti-genocide. That they are targeting these colleges, investigating these colleges, pushing people out. But there is now, it's almost illegal to investigate anti-blackness or anti-immigrant or anti-Latino sentiment, particularly anti-blackness, which has been such a big problem in the university system in this country. All of those investigations are now shut down. So the only kind of discrimination that they have designated worth investigating and putting resources into is anti-Israeli sentiment in the guise of anti-Semitism.
It's I wish I could answer that question. And I think, the Trump administration has been able to take the very broad definition that is used for anti-Semitism, which comes from the Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. And that definition is very broad. It just says that, anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews, which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews. And they're able to take that definition and apply it in so many different ways and say, if you are, speaking out against Israeli government, Israeli policies, Netanyahu as a leader of Israel, you are somehow anti-Semitic. But that doesn't apply to anybody else. And the Trump administration is able to do that because they're taking this broadly used definition and then applying it to the protests that took place last year. And like you said, the university leadership is just falling in line because folks are afraid of losing funding because they want to, quote unquote, protect the university, but they're not really concerned about protecting the students.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I find illogical beside the moral piece, which is that you've got to, if you're going to push back against discrimination and hate, you got to do that for everybody. But the other piece that's illogical to me is by attacking foreign students and creating an environment of fear on these campuses, they're hurting the business model of the universities, which is going to do harm to the U.S. Economy as well. So it's almost like business is being overshadowed, the business interests are being overshadowed by this racist MAGA agenda.
Yeah, I would say that the business interests are being overshadowed. And somehow, though, you know, the universities, aside from, I mean, I saw that Harvard a few months ago, I think we talked about this, one of the previous shows, decided that they were going to sue. But when you're in a fascist government where, you know, the Supreme Court is aligning itself with and allying itself with the dictator in place, and when you have everybody else falling in line, it's very difficult to push back and feel like you're going to get any real results.
Yeah. Well, I don't see the students backing down, but I just think it's all adding to this moment that we're in, and in a sense, it makes it more challenging to remember that the people power is the solution to all of this stuff. To me, it's the only way forward at this point.
It absolutely is the only way forward, and I'm glad we started off the show today talking about Black Lives Matter and the 12-year anniversary of the formation of Black Lives Matter, and how we are continuing to grow, because that is the people power, right? And I hope that the listeners really understand that it's important for all of us to get involved in this, because if we're not aligning ourselves and supporting one another, right? What do we say with Black Lives Matter? We keep us safe, right? The only safe place in a fascist government is when we bind together and push back with people power. And if we're not doing that, then we're going to be bulldozed over. We're going to be rolled over. Our rights are going to be taken away from us, which is exactly what we're seeing happening right now at the university, you know, on the ground with immigrants, Black folks. We're only not even 6 months into this administration. I don't even want to imagine what's coming.
Yeah. Carl Tucker is asking in the YouTube chat, which you can find, by the way, by going to youtube.com, then KBLA 1580. He's asking, has 47 started back to canceling student loan debt? The short answer is no, but we'll look at that a little bit more carefully when we come forward. Mikia Castillo and Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least like to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Hello, family. This is Dr. Rosa Milligan, self-appointed mayor of South Central LA. I'm sounding the alarm. AI, artificial intelligence, is not coming. It's already here. Join me with a powerful Zoom seminar that will teach you how to use AI for your personal and business use. Go to mytechacademy.net or call 213-878-4742.
Let's be real. Too many black businesses missed out on COVID PPP loans because they weren't tech ready. We can't afford to be left behind again. This time, we must lead. Register today at mytechacademy.net or call 213-878-4742.
You know me, Dr. Rosa, trusted voice of the people, 50 years fighting for literacy, technology, and living trust education. And now, I got your back on AI. Go to mytechacademy.net or call 213-878-4742. Your future is calling. Answer it.
Yeah. The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
Yeah, Carl, so the short answer is no, and the long answer is not only are they not putting the student loan forgiveness programs back in place, they're aggressively changing the rules. The big BS bill actually took away options for borrowers that were able to pay back and get forbearance and different kinds of delays. Now there's only two options. Interest starts collecting again August 1st, and the payments for many people are going to jump dramatically. So it's not just that he's not revoking them, he's changing the rules to make it harder on people who have student debt. You want to add to that, Lamika?
No, that's it. And I love how you called it the big BS bill. That bill, it just creates a whole lot. It's going to wreak a whole lot of havoc on the economy. And the student loan piece of it is a big piece that I think folks haven't looked into as much because of the focus on how much money is being put toward ICE.
Yeah.
But we're going to feel, anybody who has student loans is going to feel this immediately. August 1st is right around the corner. And so we only have a couple weeks before we start to see the real time impacts of Trump's administration and the decision to, make people pay as fast as possible and as much as possible for student loan debt that has just been piling up for years, some people for decades.
Yeah, and they're also, the big bill also puts a cap on how much you can borrow over the course of your whole lifetime. So it's going to make it where a lot of lower income folks cannot do Ivies, cannot do private colleges, because you won't be able to borrow enough to complete your education.
Right, and if you would have qualified for scholarships that are now considered illegal because they're tied to quote-unquote illegal DEI, you can see the potential ramifications and implications of that for low-income families and for families of color, especially for Black students who have been able to receive scholarships to reduce the cost burden to their families for, getting going to higher education.
Yeah, and it's still pretty burdensome. I think it took me 100 years to pay off my student loans, and I only went to a state university. So, I think there's just a very organized plan to shrink the number of people that are able to go to college. And it makes sense because people that are college educated are less likely to vote for the MAGA agenda.
Right. And then tying this back to the conversation around anti-Semitism and over-policing on college campuses. So then you get into college, you take on all this debt, and you could very easily be kicked out because you speak out against the Trump administration or against, Netanyahu, and you're left with this debt and you don't have a college education, and you potentially, are incarcerated because of your quote-unquote political agenda. Or anti-Semitism. I hate to sound so pessimistic, especially since we started off this call today with such hope with the BLM 12-year anniversary. But this is exactly where my mind goes when I'm connecting the dots between what's happening at the federal level, what we see going on college campuses as a result of what's happening at the federal level, and how all these things tie together.
Yeah, I think that we have to be intentional about remembering that we outline these things because we know what we're fighting, because we're pushing back against them, not because we're rolling over and saying, oh, woe is me, all is lost. A judge on Friday granted a temporary restraining order against the ICE sweeps that have been going on here in Southern California. They were sued by the ACLU, immigrant rights groups, and some local government agencies who said that the raids were unconstitutional. They represent unreasonable search and seizure. And really, what I'm gathering is that the judge said you can't just racially profile people to take them into ICE custody. Of course, the administration is appealing, but the judge, seemed to agree with this idea that you just can't arrest everybody that looks Latino or everybody that you think looks Asian. This is a Biden appointee, this judge, and I imagine they'll start going after her as well.
Well, yeah, they're absolutely going to start going after her and try to get her out, even though she was appointed by, because she was appointed by Biden and the stance that she's taking. But I agree with her 100%. I was near the MacArthur Park area early last week when ICE showed up in force at MacArthur Park. They didn't have warrants for anybody. They didn't have any evidence of anybody committing any doing criminal activity, committing crimes. They literally were just there to instill fear and to target folks who are brown people living, in MacArthur Park selling their food. That's, that area has a large concentration of street vendors because of some street vending policies that were passed, during the pandemic and a little bit before that. And now if you go over there, it's pretty vacant. People are afraid to come out because of what ICE is doing, and they are absolutely being targeted just because they're Latino, just because they're brown, just because they're Asian, and in some cases because we're Black, right? And so it's very clear that this is racial profiling through ICE, the same way we've experienced racial profiling as Black people in this country for as long as we've been in this country and have not been enslaved through chattel slavery. It's literally the same practices we see LAPD put into play on a regular basis. We as Black folks have had to fight back against, against this type of racial profiling, because that's why we get pulled over at higher rates. That is exactly the playbook that ICE is putting into place right now. Again, all of this is interconnected, and I'm glad that the judge, put that injunction in place. I hope that it lasts. I don't think that ICE is going to follow the rules in this case. But it is you're right. But it is giving us some signs of hope that there are judges that are still willing to push back against this administration, despite the fact that they know that they're going to be targeted. They have targets on their backs as a result of them saying to the Trump administration, to ICE, you can't do this. This is against our Constitution and the rights that we have in this country.
Yeah, and the question is, how far will this administration go to defy the courts? But the court was really clear. They said apparent race or ethnicity, speaking Spanish or English with an accent, presence at a particular location, or the type of work one does are not grounds to snatch people up and take them into custody. And so to me, that sounds like an anti-profiling ruling. It also says that the federal government is going to have to let those detainees have access to counsel, which seems like it should be real basic, but apparently has not been the case.
Right. It's been denied of so many individuals who have been snatched up by ICE. Again, all of their rights have been just completely eliminated. And so, again, I do hope that this ruling does lead to some kind of change in what we're seeing happening on the ground here in Los Angeles and across the country with these ICE raids. I'm not so optimistic about it because we've seen, the Trump administration early on in these in the ICE raids detain people and deport them when the judge told them not to deport them, and are now fighting against that too. But again, I think that if we as community members continue to speak out against this, show up for folks, when ICE is there, record the situation, push back against them and tell them that they don't have a right to do this, I think that also goes a long way in addition to what the judge has ordered.
Yeah. Well, the Department of Homeland Security said last week that the plaintiffs, i.e. the ACLU and these city agencies, should give them a $30 million bond to pay for training agents to comply with the court's order. So, in other words, what you're saying is the Homeland Security agents do not know how to follow the U.S. Constitution.
Right, right. And again, these are tactics that we see, right? One of the things that Black Lives Matter has been opposed to for so long is giving more money to police for training, because they use the same argument all the time, right? Well, we just need more money for training so we can, you don't know how to, your officers don't know how to interact with the community, then why are they here, quote unquote, serving the community, right? And so asking for all this money, not a surprise, but again, it's the same tactics that are used in the law enforcement playbook on a regular basis to take money from community members and put them in the pockets of these law enforcement without them actually serving us.
More and more and more training with the same results. Mikia Castillo, we've got a minute here. How would you like to use it? You got something you want to tell folks?
Yeah, one thing that we didn't talk about today, Dominique, is the amount of money that has been paid out this year because of LAPD's abuse and use of force. And I hope people look into that and follow what is happening there and advocate for a different budget for the city. We need our resources to come to the community, not going to law enforcement when they're actually harming us on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's an all-time record for...
It is an all-time record.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, Mikia, it's always great to talk with you. Remind folks where you can be found on socials.
You can find me at Mikia, that's LAMIKIA, Castillo, CASTILLO.
Mikia Castillo, plain and simple. Great to talk with you. Have a blessed week.
Thank you. You too, Dominique.
All right. We got Mindful Monday with Sahara Ali next. If you're feeling discouraged or worried, okay, time to breathe, do a little bit of some affirmation and get ourselves right. And the phone lines stay open all show as usual. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump says he's satisfied with the investigation into last year's assassination attempt at his Butler, Pennsylvania rally.
They're very talented, very capable. They had a bad day, and I think they'll admit that, and had a rough day.
Despite Secret Service failures and 6 agent suspensions, Trump told Fox News he still trusts his team. Black 7-year-old Jamal White is safe after being abducted at gunpoint in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He was taken Friday evening by masked men in a white Jeep.